Yeah, that's actually one thing when I thought of after the fact when you were asking, or our question was, what was one thing that you learned at your first job that you didn't learn at school? And I think it was just the love of learning. Like in school, you're just taught like to memorize and just like spit stuff out and then just completely forget it. But going into it, like even my first job, I didn't know how to do any of the things there that I was supposed to know. Um, so I was always learning. And I think that just that skill is like so important for life in general.
I was talking to a college class just a few months ago, and at some point I said, I read more today than I did in college, and I could hear like this audible like from the class of like, oh no, we have to keep doing this. And I was like, yeah, sorry to break it to you guys, but if you want to progress, like that's kind of what you're gonna have to do. But the nice thing is I feel like there's more instant gratification from it. Like you get to apply it very quickly. It's not just theoretical. Like you can put it to action a whole lot faster
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I think I was talking to my wife about that lately. It's like when our kids go to school, like what are we going to encourage them to learn? Like how important will school be? Who even knows then? But it, I think it's a lot easier to get excited about something when you know you can use it rather than something that you may never use. I think that's what it's all about now. Is you're learning things like as you're actually doing it, which makes it a lot easier to pick up.
For sure, it's like more motivating. So before you came to Native, what was probably either your favorite gig or maybe the one that like taught you the most, or you draw on that experience the most?
My first job out of college was at a nonprofit. Like I worked with homeless youth running a little screen printing shop. It had nothing to really do with, well, it had some to do with design, but I enjoyed that job. It was almost not really a job. I just kind of screwed around and like rode my bike and skateboarded and played video games and printed t-shirts, it was a lot of fun. But I really liked like the relationship aspect of it. Even though it was a nonprofit, we didn't really have to follow any rules. It was all about just like building relationships with the kids and getting to know them and figuring out like on a case by case basis how to help them instead of like taking them through a program or something like that. I think that was really rewarding and just also fascinating just to meet all these different people and get involved with them and just kind of live alongside them. My last job was for like a corporate events company, which that was my first design job really. And I came in as a baby designer and didn't really know much. I was mostly an order taker, but I did learn a lot about like project management and just general design things that I didn't know before. So that was pretty important.
That's cool. There's a lot of pretty talented people at Native, and also a lot of like very determined and driven people. You're definitely one of them in terms of I can see the drive that you've got. Like what can you put a finger on like what it is that drives you, where that comes from?
I was trying to think about this question because I don't know if I can. I think it's like my curiosity. Like I'm always very curious about just how anything works and being able to kind of like get my fingers into that area and learn more about it and take things apart and see how they work is always really interesting to me. I think that kind of what drives me. Also, just like the thrill of being able to figure out a new skill and like accomplish something and like ship it. That's always really important and exciting. Yeah, I think just being able to learn new things and be able to produce it and put it into the world and those are things that like that can help people too and like improve businesses. That's always very exciting.
It's one of the reasons why I liked UX design so much when I first got into the field, because I didn't have to wait on anybody to publish. Like I could publish it right away, and then it was available to anybody. So I didn't have to wait to say, "Hey, look what I made." I could just like instantly send a link around or whatever, and that like really helped. It like of just like put in the work, you feel good about it, you move on to the next thing. So is UX now your one of your favorite parts of the job, or are there other things that you think are energize you more?
Yeah, no, I think I mean I always have a heart for brand identity. That's always something I get excited about. But lately, yeah, UI and UX has been exciting more. I think because it's more of like a learning experience for me. Like there's so much to learn. That's always growing. It's always changing. Um, So there's just more to explore there.
Yeah, that's cool. Are there other aspects of the job, or maybe other kind of skill sets that you're interested in pursuing over the next year or so? Anything that you're wanting to spend more time on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. With some of the new initiatives that you've been talking about, like courses and teaching and all that, I always get really excited about that. Like I've built little mini courses on the side in my spare time. That's always something I've been very passionate about. It's like mentoring others and just sharing what I know, and knowing that even though I don't think I know a lot, I know a little bit more than one person. There's always one person out there that can benefit from it. So I think just creating content in that way, that's something I've always wanted to do and haven't always put time into, because there's always value that you can put out into the world, and that's something I get really excited about.
That's cool. I think you're one of many on our team like that. I think there's a lot of people who kind of take that teacher mindset, whether it's a coworker who is like equally experienced, but maybe in a different discipline, or even people on the client team. There's a lot of clients who are like, "How'd you do that?" And we're like all too willing to explain, like, "Hey, do you have 30 minutes? I'll show you exactly how we did it."
Right. Yeah.
So being able to like do this at maybe a bigger scale for people who can really benefit from it outside of our company, I think it's gonna be a pretty fun thing. I think it'll be really rewarding to us. Hopefully, it's rewarding to other people too.
Yeah.
Um, I get asked this question a lot, especially for new people who are considering joining Native. But why do you think? Why did you join Native, or why do you think other people join Native?
On the surface level, like before I joined the team, I think just seeing the client roster and the quality of work was really what drew me in compared to a lot of other agencies 3 or 4 times the size. That's what caught my eye initially. But being here, I'd say that the culture is a huge piece of that. Like we all rally together and support each other. We all push each other to do the work to the best of our ability, and continually pushing even like beyond that limit. um, I think that's been a huge piece of it. Like we're all working towards the same goal and continually improving. And
That's
everyone's
cool.
extremely talented too. It's really fun to work with people that are extremely good at their job.
I fully agree. I think everybody's worked at a place where they weren't surrounded by people who like really impressed them, or like didn't carry the load or whatever. And whenever you find people who care just as much as you do, and like are like, holy cow, you made that! It's like the best feeling, I think.
Yeah, and I'd say just like what you were saying earlier, just continually I have a desire to always learn and teach others. Like we're not siloed. We're not trying to like hide things. We're more excited about like the end result and how we can like work towards that together.
Someone mentioned this to me the other day. They said it seems like you guys don't are not internally competitive with each other. It seems like you guys are trying to build each other up, and it's something that I don't think about very often because maybe we just take it for granted. But it reminds you. I've definitely worked in those environments before, where you kind of get pitted against other people because that's how people think you need to be motivated, is to compete like that. But I'd almost forgot about that exists, probably
Right.
predominantly at other places. But yeah, we've kind of weeded that out, I think. Um, so we hit our 5-year anniversary during quarantine. So the big party we wanted to throw didn't happen. So who knows when that'll happen? But you've been here for over how long? What is that? What is year and a half? That's what I was thinking. So you've been here over a year. If you look back over the past year and a half, is there like a favorite story that you like to tell other people, or talk about with coworkers from the past year and a half?
That's a good question. I can't think of any off the top of my head, actually. Off the
Well, they're
beginning.
usually they tend to usually be the inappropriate stories that we can't
Oh
share
yeah,
publicly
actually, no, I
anyway.
remember. Well, I think it was like one of my first few weeks here. I had my Bluetooth keyboard accidentally got connected to Jess's computer, and I had already figured out she's very easily excitable, and yeah, so I typed like "Hello, Jess," and she didn't know it was my keyboard connected to her and showing up on her screen. She thought I was a ghost, and no one really knew me, so I just kind of played it off and acted like it wasn't me. So that was pretty enjoyable.
That went on for a little bit. I remember she was completely flipped out.
I was like,
Oh
I
man,
work,
that's good.
say something.
Right. Yeah. Oh man. So in that 5 years, so you've been here for a year and a half. Of that 5 years, we've grown steadily during that time. There's people who will ask, like, "Hey, what's the key? What triggered that growth? Like, what would be your guess or your response to that?"
I'd always just say like continually evolving, like not settling for the status quo, and just always looking for new ways to do something rather than just doing it just because it's the way it's always been done. I think with our clients, we're always trying to solve different problems, even ones they don't necessarily bring to us. We're always thinking kind of a few steps ahead, which I think helps us uh, just continually grow and innovate in that way.
Yeah, I think that's right. If you had to, if you were to envision and kind of dream about what we might look like in 5 years, do you have any predictions over how we'd be the same or maybe different in 5 years from now?
Yeah, it's hard to think that far ahead, especially like in this climate, because everything's been changing so quickly. But I'd say my hope is that, like, I would think just the workforce would be like more global, distributed, like you bringing in even more talent and different insights that we wouldn't have had before. Being more inclusive, just in general, of like not just skill levels, but like different backgrounds and experience, and just continually kind of growing in that way.
Yep. I think we have a shared dream there. It sounds pretty good to me.